Okay, hello everyone. What we got going here is a video for lesson 1.2 of course 4. So let's get into it. So we will be in the note-taking guide. So if you don't have that out, hit pause, go grab the note-taking guide. Again, this should be probably a topic a lot of you have done before. It shouldn't be one that takes very long. We're looking at powers and exponents here. We'll just kind of go through these words here. So first of all, if let's write what it would look like. And again, I'm going to get a different tool for this. I'm just using a mouse now, but it's kind of ugly. But anyways, so this would be an example of a power. It's a result of a repeated multiplication of the same factor. So, and we'll break it down here in a second. But these parts, the base is the big number on the bottom. Okay, that's the number that's going to be multiplied over and over. Okay, the exponent is the top number, the smaller one written up above and to the right. That's how many of the base there will be. Okay, so, and we're going to look at this in a second. So 2 to the third would be 2 times 2 times 2, which would equal 8. Okay, because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So that's an example of a power. The key words here, the base is 2. Okay, it's a bigger number on the bottom. The exponent is the 3. Okay, so let's take a look at a few problems. It says write the product using an exponent. So what they're going to give you is give you this long multiplication, and you just got to figure out what should the exponent be. So because the number being multiplied is 7, that's your base. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So the exponent is 5. Okay. Here, again, this is just another way to write multiplication. The numbers are in parentheses. So 0.4 times 0.4. So the base is 0.4 to the second power. Okay. The rules just apply the same. Even if you have variables, don't freak out that there's variables and that they're using letters. You just do the same thing. A is your base, because that's what's being multiplied, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So it's 8 to the 4th. And then again, R is being multiplied, that's the base, there's 6 of them. So you have R to the 6th. Okay, so these were just examples. Now, this book is, usually these blanks are empty, but instead of taking the time to fill all those in and stuff, I've used the teacher's editions for this stuff, so the answers will already be there, and there's really no work to show on these type of ones. So just kind of explain them again. 12 is a number being multiplied, so that's the base. There's 4 of them, so it's 12 to the 4th. Here, there's 7 of these 0.2s, so it's 0.2 to the 7th. Again, same with variables. There's 5 x's, so there's x to the 5th. There's 3 y's being multiplied, so it's y to the 3rd. Now, exponents, this only works with multiplication. If you have x plus x plus x, that's not x to the 3rd. That's 3x, and that'll come in a different lesson. Okay, right now we're just looking at the exponents and multiplication. We can combine what we learned with lesson 1.1 and now use exponents. So 1.1, we did some where we plugged a number in for the variable. So same thing here. We have an expression x to the 3rd, and they want to know what that is when x equals 0.4. Okay, so when you have x to the 3rd, you substitute in 0.4 for x, so it's 0.4 to the 3rd. Okay, and then you're going to have, that means 0.4 times 0.4 times 0.4. Okay, you type that in, it gives you 0.064. I'm going to see if I can turn my camera on and see if I can show you how to do this on your calculator. Okay, so give me 1 second. Let's see if this works. I think I got to stop sharing the screen. Go to the camera. Okay, so kind of go here. So that problem that we had was 0.4 times 0.4. Let me go back. I think I hit the wrong button. So 0.4 times 0.4 times 0.4 equals, that's the 0.064. Now there is a way to, when you have it held this way, there's no way to enter exponents. Okay, but if you turn the calculator like this, okay, there's a lot more buttons. Okay, so if we see right in this area, now your phone might be a little different, but most of them should have this function. If you have a different type of phone and it looks different, call me, put me on the camera, we'll see if we can figure it out. But most calculators have this X to the Y button. Okay, right there. Okay, so what you do is you put your base in first. So before you hit that, so 0.4, then you're going to hit that button, X to the Y. Then you hit your exponent, in this case 3, it equals, and we get that 0.064. Okay, now there are some other buttons on here that are shortcuts. We have an X squared and an X cubed. We're going to look at some word problems here in a second with squared and cubed. Those would be shortcuts to do that. And you could have done this problem that way too, because it was a cube, or cubed means to the third, squared means to the second. So we could have just wrote 0.4, and since it was to the third, that's just a shortcut button for that. So we could have hit that and it pops up. Okay. So that's how to use the calculator shortcuts for those. All right, so let me go back to sharing the screen. And let's go back to looking at the problem. So that's how to do exponents in the calculator, figure out the exponents. Make sure you understand the directions. So like down here, it says write the product using an exponent. They don't want you to find the answer. Okay, they just want you to find and write it as 12 to the fourth. And it could go the other, they could have problems the other way. They could give you x to the fifth and they want you to write it out as multiplication. So that'd be x times x times x times x times x. Okay, here if they say evaluate, that's when they want an actual answer. So evaluate means break it down and get the actual answer. Okay, last type of problem, they're just talking about area and volume of either a square or a cube. The reason we can do these shapes is because squares, all sides are the same, cubed, all edges are the same. And so when you're finding area of a square, it's length times width. Well, with a square, they can do a shortcut. It's really not much different. L times W or length times width. But here they're saying the sides are the same, so they can just say S squared. Volume, usually for a rectangular prism like this, would be length times width times height. Well, with a cube, they're all the same, so they say it's S to the third. Okay, so if you have a word problem, so it says you are planning to put wall-to-wall carpeting in your room. To do this, you need to find the area of the square-shaped floor. So this is actually a square floor. Okay, and so all you do up here, it said area equals S squared. So you put 11 in for your side. 11 squared is 11 times 11, which is 121. Okay. So types of problems, other types of problems you see, remember when it says evaluate, you put the number in for the letter if it's a variable problem, or they could just tell you to evaluate. It could be something like 12 to the fourth. If they want you to evaluate, you either use your calculator and write 12 to the fourth, or it's 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. So here all they're doing is putting 2 in. 2 squared is 4. That's 2 times 2. 2 to the third is 8. Remember, some people get going too fast and they see a 2 and a 3 and they write 6. Okay, the only one that works for is this one. 2 squared is the same as 2 times 2, so that's why you get 4 either way you do it. But 2 to the third does not mean 2 times 3. It means 2 times 2 times 2. So that's why it's 8. And then 2 to the fourth is 16, 2 to the fifth is 32. So the numbers start climbing really fast when you use exponents. Here, just make sure you read the directions when you're doing problems. Here it says volume, and it says cube. So you'll be using the s to the third. Sorry, that's so ugly. But s to the third formula. So here, this would be 2 to the third. Okay. That's ugly. 2 to the third is 8. Here, it's going to be, the side is 3 feet, so it's going to be 3 to the third. And that is so ugly. Sorry, guys. I'm going to get a pen that I can write with on a pad for this. But 3 to the third, 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Okay. So as far as work and practice goes, again, if you go to the study guide, I think if you can do most of the problems in here, you're going to be good. Okay, so here they say write using an exponent. Don't evaluate. So write it as an exponent, or write it as a power using an exponent. Here, I'm not too big on this. It says write it out in words, and then as a repeated multiplication. This is the more important part, to know that 2 to the 6th is 2 times 2 times 6 times. And then it says then evaluate the power. So just know if we're taking a test and it says both of those, you need to do both. Okay. Evaluate powers. Okay, so there's again another example here. If you can do these problems, it should be pretty good. Also, make sure you read directions. If this was on a test, you should have 2 answers, because this is a different type of problem. It says evaluate the expression when h equals 5 and when h equals 0.3. So there should be 2 different answers. So like number 7 here, it's it should be 5 squared and then also 0.3 squared. So you'd have 2 answers there. Problems like this, just make sure that you see if they're talking area, either if they tell you it's area or they tell you it's a square. Here it's volume and a cube. Okay, so if you can do the problems in the study guide and you're getting the answers that are in the back, there's probably no need to do the problems in the practice, unless again you want to get a couple extra credit points towards your test. Okay, and then you can do this here. Make sure you write it out the way it's asked. Again, there's not much work to show on here, but unless you're doing like this section here, I'd want to see work. In the back, they'll just tell you the 2 answers, but I want you to write out what is x to the third when it's 0.64. So you should write out 0.64 times 0.64 times 0.64 and then write your answer. Okay, it just shows me that you're taking some steps and writing things down. Same here, write out the formula, what it would be. You don't have to write out how the 17 times 17. You just write 17 squared for this one and then write your answer. Okay, and then this one can get it. It's just a little different. We won't go over that right now, but if you do it, you need help, then let me know. So biggest thing is if you're looking at these problems on the study guide, that's what you should be responsible for. If you're not understanding them, you're not getting the answers in the back, let me know and we'll go over that. Okay, so hopefully 1.1 and 1.2 aren't too bad, a lot of review, but you need to know that for the test. Remember, the first test will be next week sometime. It'll be 1.1 through 1.4. So we got a couple more lessons to go before we get there. Okay. All right. During class time, ask questions if you have any, and